So you're starting confirmation, and you're probably asking, why confirmation? Why am I doing this? Why am I a part of this? Well, the one answer is because you're old enough. When most people are baptized in our church, they're baptized as infants. And the parents make the promise that they're going to raise the child in the church and try to teach them about Jesus and share the message of God with them until they get to a certain age, until they're old enough to think about this themselves, and until they're old enough and mature enough to claim the faith as their own. And that's where you are now. And yeah, we could also say that what you're doing, participating in confirmation, is something that people have done all through the years. I participated in confirmation growing up, and I was baptized as an infant and confirmed when I was in 6th grade, but it goes back even further than that. You can actually trace this all the way back to the Bible and the Jewish faith. Because we know when Jesus was 8 days old, they took him as an infant to the temple, and he was made part of the covenant. His parents basically promised to raise him in the faith, like we do our children when we baptize them. But then the next time we see Jesus as an older child, he's 12 years old. You know, he's around 6th grade, and he's at the temple again. More than likely, what he was there for was his version of confirmation. It was his bar mitzvah. He was basically old enough to claim the faith as his own. And we know he did. Well, that's where you are now. It's time for you to really start working on your relationship with God. Not just trusting your parents that my parents will sign me up for what I need to be signed up for, and they'll take me where I need to be. But it's about your relationship with God. It's about your relationship with Jesus. And so confirmation is that process, this time of talking and learning where we hear the stories of God, and we get a better understanding of God and the church and what Jesus has done for us. And then we claim this faith as our own, and we live it out wherever it takes us, because it's our faith in our God. So, welcome to confirmation. You are part of a long line that have gone before you, and hopefully, prayerfully, a long line that will come after you.
Hey, I'm John Sweeney. I'm one of the clergy here. I've been on staff here for about 3.5 years or so, and part of my job is I'm the director of stewardship development, but I'm also the director of our discipleship pathway. And what that means is that I am leading a great group of people who are helping to provide opportunities for people of all ages to find where they are as a disciple of Christ. And you know, that a lot of that discipleship starts for people at your age, which is confirmation age, 6th grade, 7th grade, whatever age, kind of that 12, 13, 14 year age bracket. And I appreciate Jeremiah asking me to do this, because it made me think about when I was in middle school. And it took me a long time to think about that, because it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. And I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, not too far from here. And we kind of lived out in the country a little bit in a new development that was away from downtown. But my parents wanted us to go to a church downtown. Well, all my friends that were in my neighborhood and in my school, they all went to churches that were right there near our neighborhood. Ours was way downtown, and I didn't go to school with anybody that I went to church with, which was kind of weird, but there were a lot of different schools represented there. So the group of people that I was friends with at church, we were all kind of in the same boat. We all had different groups of friends, and we found out that was pretty cool, because we could come together on Sundays or on Wednesdays and be a group of friends together and still have other groups of friends. But sometimes that got a little complicated, because my friends at home didn't understand why on Wednesday afternoon I would drive into town to go to church. Or on Sunday mornings while I wasn't home, that we would go to church and then go to lunch downtown. So I never really understood it at the time, but I understand that going to the church where I grew up, which was Galloway Memorial United Methodist Church, that's where my parents felt they belonged. And that's where I was I was raised, and I found that's really where I belonged too. But I was allowed to discover that on my own. I was allowed to discover that a lot of the time through the confirmation process. You know, when Jeremiah asked me about this, I started laughing thinking about my confirmation retreat. And we had this little camp down about, 45 minutes away from downtown Jackson. And it was a United Methodist camp, and you know, you'd go down there for the weekend and do the confirmation retreat. Well, I had to get there late because I had, a soccer game or something. Well, it just so happened that one of the confirmation leaders had to get there late too. So I was going to ride with them. And this was the day long before safe sanctuaries, but that's beside the point. Anyway, she had a Corvette, and we had to stop for gas. And I remember as we were getting on the interstate, she said, I'm going to just stick it on cruise control. And she hit the cruise control button, and we shot. And she almost lost control of the car. She didn't realize that her husband had set the cruise control to go so fast. It was one of the most scariest moments I've ever had in my life. But that's not the most important thing that I remember from my confirmation retreat, but it is by far the most vivid memory of my confirmation retreat was almost dying in a brand new Corvette in 1982, probably. So anyway, what did I remember from confirmation? I remember learning about what it means to be a United Methodist. I remember what it means to be a believer, what it means to say that I know that Jesus, what Jesus did for me, what Jesus died for me, all of those things that you're going to be learning about in confirmation. I remember learning those same things. And you know, that's really cool. You know, I am probably 40 something years older than, almost 40 years older than most of you. And the things that I learned are the same things that you're going to learn. And there was a group of people 40 years before me, and 100 years before them, and 300 years before them, and 500 years before them, that we've all learned the same things. We've learned what it means to be a disciple of God in this world. And that brings us all together. You know, that creates a community. And when I think about growing up in the church in downtown Jackson, I realize now that I really grew up with a community of people. We came from all different schools, we came from all different backgrounds, but on Wednesdays and Sundays, we were a community together because we had gone through something together, which was confirmation class. And I think back through my life and I look at some of the friends that I've had, even now, they were in that confirmation class. And it took me realizing that after Jeremiah asked me to share some of this with you, that I realized that the time that I really got to know those people the most was in that confirmation class. I could pick up the phone today and call a half a dozen of them, and we would pick up exactly where we left off. I probably haven't talked to some of them in 5 or 10 years. But it was in that confirmation class. It was in that time spent together in this small group, and we learned together, we laughed together, we raced down the interstate in a Corvette. But those are the moments that I really remember most about growing up in middle school at Galloway United Methodist Church. And that's what I invite you to be a part of here with us at Vestavia as we go into this time together, is that you're going to go into relationship, you're going to create some friendships that you may not have ever had before, and that you probably wouldn't have had if it hadn't been for this confirmation experience. And you're going to share in a connection together. You're going to share in what you've learned together, which is what it means to be a disciple of Christ. And I'm thrilled for you for that. And I can't wait to be a part of it with you. And part of what I'd love for you to do with this experience and thinking about middle school is ask your parents what it was like for them when they were in middle school. What was it like? Were the classes hard? Were they easy? I don't even remember what subjects I took, but I remember being awkward. I remember being not part of the cool group. And at the time I wanted to be, but looking back on it, I thank God that I wasn't. Because I think they peaked in middle school. And you'll learn what that means as you go through middle school. So I encourage you, first of all, I so appreciate you being a part of this group in this program because you're the future of the church. And I thank you for being a part of this confirmation class. And for you parents out there, I invite you to, with a light heart, think back on what it was like when you were in middle school. Share that with your child. I know they may not think they want to hear it, but they probably do. I don't know that I wanted to hear it from my mom and dad when I was their age, but I did. And I've shared with my kids about when they were in middle school, and they went right through this same confirmation class here at Vestavia, both of my two children. So I invite you to share some time with your middle school student about what it means to come out of middle school, what it means to be there while you were there, and what are some of the funnier things you remember, and hopefully not getting into a Corvette. So anyway, thanks a lot. Good to see y'all. God bless.